This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason, what do you got on tap for us today?
Well, it's like, I guess I can sum it up for you in a song. It's like, my love for you is like a truck berserker. Would you like to making fuck berserker? Yeah. Anyone remember this? John, do you remember this?
I remember it, but like, is this thing that you're reading based off of that song? Or is it just like,
Unfortunately, no. It's like,
oh,
it's.
okay.
No, it's like this is just like something that we remember from the original Clerks movie directed by Kevin Smith that I remember like very very well. But it's like if you're thinking like why are you singing this, Jason? It's like, did you have more fun singing this than reading the comic you're talking about tonight? Yeah, yeah, I did really, because and it brings me no great amount of joy to say this because we're right now, it's like we are living in like the Keanu sans, really, honestly, people, because and we've been living in it since the year 2014, which is when the first John Wick movie came out, and we suddenly remember that hey, Keanu Reeves, like he makes good movies, and also he's a really great guy, like along with that, and like and ever since like he's like not only have like all of the John Wick movies been great. I mean, yes, they've been like sure like the storylines have been like more ridiculous, more preposterous since like the first one, but like the action in 1, 2, 3, and 4 just been like so much more sublime and creative with each movie. Just basically everyone's just been making like then driven like like greater heights like, in terms of like what can we like show him like shooting and killing and blowing up and falling down stairs. It's like like in each movie after that, and he's also like like produced like like quality cameos in movies, quality supporting roles in movies like his voice contribution Toy Story 4, producing a decent legacy sequel in Bill and Ted Face the Music. We're not going to talk about the Matrix Resurrections because no, that wasn't good, but it wasn't enough to kill our faith in like his ability to like produce good movies. But but basically like Keanu has been like producing like a lot of good stuff ever since 2014. More good stuff than bad, I would argue. But I would also argue that nothing has been more proof of like like the public's resurgent faith in his like celebrity and appeal than the fact that when it was announced that he was going to be co-writing this his very first comic book, that it turned out to be the biggest selling comic for an original creation like in like 25 years, and that would be Berserker. And yeah, I say Berserker, but it's published Berserker minus the vowels and all. And well, we've got the first like 3 volumes, like its first 12 issue arc, like co-written with actual comics writer Matt Kint, and illustrated by veteran comics artist Ron Garney. And so, like, is this like first? Is this like first like like comic like by co-written by Keanu like any good? Uh, no, not really, because well, it's like basically the Berserker is all about like the story of B. It's like or like Unut to his friends. Like Unut means tool or weapon, based in the ancient tongue of his people, like people who were like from the years 80,000 years ago when he was first born. But that's getting ahead of ourselves because like we're introduced to him like in the present day when he's just a tool of the United States government, just go around and like killing the evil dictators we are that we're familiar with to like to bring to bring justice and freedom to like other countries. It and if you think that this sounds like really like weird and awful, it's like, well, think about how much you enjoyed Top Gun Maverick and how they never explicitly like said what country like they were attacking as well. We all know it was Belka, but that's a different story right there. But basically like this like we're basically like this first volume is just nothing but blood and carnage, as we're shown just what Unut is capable of. Just someone who is able to just like murder anyone. It's like in a given room, and like it's like and just like drive. It's like like drive a truck right into a plane. It's like blow it up and then go in there, like kill the target and eat his heart for a dramatic effect, right in front of the target's son. But don't worry about it because he's killed immediately because people supporting you basically tell him that no survivors. Yeah. So, but like we're also told that this is like this berserker rage of Anut is something that's part of his character. Like he is someone who was like born to kill and be violent and like do violence upon like other men. That's what he was summoned for. Basically, like his like his mother and his father were like people like in a prosperous river valley. It's like in the Bronze Age, who were just like suffering from raids upon like people like raiders on a yearly basis. Like hey, whenever they get prosperous again, like raiders will just come and just take everything they got because that's what they do. And so when the mother like performed her ritual, like summon a like someone who like from the gods who would help them, well, they got Unut. And he was someone who was just like born to like do this kind of stuff. Like it's like he was just like like he was like he just stayed in her womb really quickly. It's like he was like he sprung to manhood like equally quick, and then he just like murdered the fuck out of everyone who was like going to kill like his parents like his parents River Valley like residents. And well, when dad saw that this is what my son could do, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and just like use this in order to like take out anyone who can like do violence upon us again, and also anyone who might do violence upon us as well. So basically you've got someone who has basically been exploited for generations upon generations to just do violence like upon like anyone who he's like who he's like working with. And but apparently like for in order to get like some sort of like depth to like his story, it's like we're told that he's working with the United States. It's like in this first volume because hey, he's they've told him we're gonna work to find a way to give you what you want, which is a way to die. And not just because like Newt has a death wish, he just wants a chance to be mortal or have the chance to die like everyone else. So but that's what volume one is all about. And it's just like lots of just senseless violence upon like violence like for 4 issues at least. And on one hand it's like it's that's what you're into, then sure, like go and check this out. um like yeah, sure, Keanu like co-writes this, but I imagine like a lot of the real actual writing here was done by his co-writer Matt Kint, who longtime readers will know that I've talked about him for his work on mind management, Department H, and a lot of the stuff that he's published through Dark Horse and Boom, which is a lot of that stuff has just been all right to mediocre, or like is good or good enough like to be like a good direct-to-video action movie in the case of Apache delivery service from Dark Horse. Everything else is just kind of like yeah. But because I think that Kint is best when he's in control of the comics form, and he can actually like do a lot of like interesting stuff with the form itself, as seen in My Management and Department H. Here he's just kind of like just saying like, hey, it's like here's this guy who's like been living for like like millennia. It's like and I'm gonna find a way to like grant him his like like his wish to like be mortal after all. It's competent stuff. It's nothing special, and I don't think that like that Kent just demonstrates anything here in these 12 issues that basically like says that hey, anyone else like really could have done like a whole lot better. So so there is, but all 12 issues were illustrated by Ron Garney. Garney has like had a long history of illustrating stuff at Marvel. I remember coming into contact with his work with Mark Waid on Captain America in the '90s, and him having like nice, clear, like enjoyably cartoonish style. But he's like like developed a lot of like a style that has like much more grit like over the years, like having like a distinct Jim Lee influence for his work on Uncanny X Force and the brief Sam Humphries era, and also just channeling more Frank Miller in more recent years with his work with Charles Soule on Daredevil, and also on this series on Berserker as well. Which he does like big solid chunky work here that I generally enjoyed, but like I said, it's all about just like how you can display violence, and like he does that well enough here, but it's solid work like through and through. I can't say that that it's like like breakthrough or transcendent work, but it really does display all the violence you're telling that's on display here, and God knows there's a lot in these 12 issues. But volume one is just really all about just like showing you just what Unut is capable of, and also just what the like what the American side is just trying to do, because like at the same time as he's like killing all these people for us Americans, we've also got Diana, who is like the psychiatric side of things, who's just trying to like manage his mental state, and also trying to and she's like, whenever we get a flashback like to his like River Valley years, like she's usually the one who's managing that. And then there's Caldwell, who is the guy who is just like managing his history, and just trying to figure out just how do we actually like like use like his powers for the greatness of America. So there you go, and that's volume one. Volume one, I was like less than impressed by, but at the same time though, hey, this is like a big, huge selling series that like hey, that a lot of people were invested in. So I figured, okay, well maybe I can't really give up on it in this first volume. So let's see what volume two has to offer. And volume two is arguably the high point of what I've read so far, because even if it doesn't quite get better, it at least has the decency to get weirder, because all four issues are like are bookend. I have bookends by the fact that Inut is stuck in a box a mile underground, as like as the scientists like who are managing him try and find a way to unlock his powers, and try and find a way to get him to communicate with the father figure that sent him to his mother like all these millennia ago. It's really it's strange, it's unorthodox, and yeah, it's like there's all this talk in the middle of the actual issues about him going on like missions that have that just like having like like kill more people, but also to reclaim like artifacts like that include like his own thumb that that was part of his hand that was like lopped off like millennia ago, because like cults have also like sprung up around him like over these years as well, because yeah, this guy who's been like this immortal dude who's been murdering people like through through the millennia. Yeah, this is something that you would think that people like would notice it, and they would notice it, and and like like develop their own like belief systems around. And that also turns out to be relevant to like the main story as well, because there are people like much closer like to the main story that also have their own plans for him as well. And but there's also like some like thought about how, given to like how like this immortal character is able to like propagate the spread of knowledge and like and wisdom, like like from place to place, because he hasn't just been stuck in one area like over all these years. So and volume two just does a lot of like stuff like like suggests that there's more to this story as well. And also in the end, when you've got his psychiatrist who has basically been repurposed as a radio to like to find like to allow the U.S. to like like listen in to like Unut's like supposed communion with his father as things work out at the end of volume at the end of volume two, because like I said, things get weird in volume two, and I really appreciated that, like to the point where like hey, I was kind of hoping that they were kind of gonna get more into that in volume three, but that's not quite what happens. In the end, it turns out that one of the one of the scientists who's managing Unut, Caldwell, is actually part of these crazy cults that have been like worshiping Unut over the millennia, and he's find a way to like maybe use like this communion to get some of his like berserker energy. It's like in order to like to him as well. So you've got that. That is a plot point there, as is the effect that a an icon that was talked about in volume one is brought up again in order to like as a potential way of giving Unut the mortality he seeks, is brought up here, like here again as well. And even if it does give him that mortality he seeks, it's something that is like brought up so briefly, so casually, that it's just like almost feels like like, why did you even bring this up in the first place? I mean, yeah, we all know that Superman wanted to become mortal in Superman 2 in order to become humanity, but he became Superman again real quick. But it's just that kind of business all over, especially in the end, when it turns out that hey, even if he knows how to fight when he's mortal, it's like he still hasn't lost any of that muscle memory when it comes to like like sacrificing himself in order to take out the enemies as quickly as possible. So that's kind of dumb. But at the end, it's like like even when like when it seems like we've reached the end of like Unut's story, and he's like, oh yeah, it's like he's mortal and now he's dead. Well, that's not the end of the story here, really, because like even though it's like we're not like future issues of Berserker haven't been solicited, this final issue like ends with so many like sequel threads that it's just ridiculous. I mean, because it turns out that because we find out that hey, his effort to have kids with like Diana, well, that's a thing too. It's like now he's got kids. Oh, and it turns out that we've got like some sort of like undead clone version of him that's also running out as well. Oh, and it turns out that Caldwell might have actually managed to like like attract the immortality that he so sought, from Unut as well. Oh, and it turns out that Unut may still be alive as well on some other planet too, but he maybe find a way to come back. But basically, it's like it's an ending that just just nothing is ending, and it's just kind of like just like so many crazy sequel threads that I see this and I kind of think like, okay, so you're basically like saying that you're basically like just like hedging your bets, like in the idea that we're just gonna like get like another like you want to continue the series, and you're just leaving your options as open as possible, which sure, fine. I mean, you're like Keanu, you're entitled to do that, but at the same time, it doesn't really make for a wholly satisfying like story here. Um, and it's also worth mentioning that there are future Berserker stories planned, like from other creators who are not directly working with Keanu on this, or they are, at least they're taking like story notes. But the first of these, Poetry of Madness by Steve Scroce, which basically like has like Unut fighting against a like fighting for the survival of Atlantis. I did not read for this podcast because, well, when you're trying to sell me on something that is trying to sell me on 56 pages of comic story for $10. It's like I saw this and thought, yeah, no. And yeah, like the next one shot is going to be by Batman imposter writer Mattson Tomlin and artist Rebecca Isaacs. That's also going to be like of similar size and similar price, I imagine. And I see this and think, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, it's also going to be, like it's going to be reprinted. These two one shots going to be reprinted in February under the collected edition called BRZRKR Bloodlines, and I'd much rather read them after with the discount I get from Cheap Graphic Novels, for this for this collected edition, because Jesus Christ, this is comics are getting like too expensive these days. It's like, I mean, it's like I see that Marvel and DC haven't stopped like talking about their pricing for their issues. It's like in the solicitations, but Image and Dark Horse have, because Image and Dark Horse know that if we keep telling you that yeah, these things you're selling to you are kind of going to be like $5 each for a single issue. It's like you're gonna like you're just gonna like piece the fuck out right there. So yeah, and that's kind of like bullshit as well. So that's why I keep subscribing to Marvel Unlimited. That's why I keep waiting for like decent prices on it's like on the comic on the comic site selling sites that I get as well. But this is a digression as well. But really, it's like BRZRKR. It's like, are these like 3 issues which retail for like $16, like, oh sorry, $16.99, but really $17 like a volume? Are they worth that? No, they're not. At least not as far as I'm concerned. Maybe like Boom will release a nice 1 volume edition, like for like 30 or $40, and maybe then you can like consider checking that out. But as far as like Keanu's like first major comics writing project, I mean, I appreciate the fact that that he that he's like invested in this, because like apparently there's also like word that there's like a BRZRKR anime, there's like a BRZRKR like live action film project at Netflix like in the works as well. So on one hand, like I appreciate that he's able to like get this stuff off the ground as part of the ongoing Keanu Sans, but the comics itself, I don't know. It's like as they are right now, it's like I don't think they're all that great. And unless you're like the biggest fan of Keanu, or like of like the other like 1% who likes Kint or Garney, then yeah, it's like this probably isn't like worth your time, and especially not as like in these like in this like these 3 volumes as well. Wait until if you want to check this out, wait until like there's some like affordable like one like 12 issue volume collecting all these issues before you like invest in it. So there you go.
All right. Well, sounds like a recommendation to me.
Well, maybe like once that 1 volume edition comes out, but I don't know. It's like I can't in good faith say that you should like go out and buy all all 3 volumes of this unless you can get them at a good discount, like say 30 or 40% off each volume.
Is that why you usually look at the bins when you go to a comic convention?
Yeah, exactly. This is true. This is true too. But yeah, it's like this is why I usually get my stuff from cheapgraphicnovels.com, which usually offers 30 to 40% off like each new volume. And no, they didn't pay me to say that.
Yeah,
This
I
is
was just
just
gonna
it's
say
just
we're
how
not
it's
sponsored by them. Just saying that, and that's fine. You can totally recommend a place to go, even if they don't give you a dime.
yeah, it's like they're I mean they're good, but this
You just want to get the word out that this is a good place to go and get something.
they're good for the prices. They're not so good for like keeping things in stock. So it's like there you go.
Cool. You know what you're gonna be talking about next time.
Well, depending on how things go, it's like hey, maybe talking about like Ninja Turtles and we're going back to on The Last Ronin and the Lost Years.
All right. We'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right. Laters.